All right, welcome to Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris. I am your guide and host through the show. Today, we have our newest monthly series, Insights with Zillow. Now, everyone listening knows that Zillow is at the forefront of home buying and selling here in the digital age. For example, currently Zillow is averaging 190 million unique visitors to their website every single month. That reach is incredible, and they've become experts at buyer and seller behavior because of the sheer volume of users on their website. And this means they have insight based on hard data, not just theory. And they're going to talk about some of these insights here on our show. And we couldn't be more excited or proud to have Zillow as our guest today. Representing Zillow, as usual, is Chris Lapp from their corporate partnership team. Now, I've personally known Chris for several years. He's a fantastic resource to listen to and also to help agents take some of these Zillow insights to increase their overall real estate production. But let me tell you a little bit about Chris before we get started. Chris Lapp has been with Zillow for 4 years and serves as the corporate partnership manager. In this role, Chris works with some of the largest and most strategic real estate brokerages around the country to drive partnership opportunities with Zillow. Chris has a doctorate degree in the field of communication and has years of experience coaching agents and brokers nationwide to implement best practices and strategies for online lead conversion. Welcome to Keeping It Real, Chris. Thank you so much once again for joining us.
Thanks, DJ. Absolute pleasure to be with you again and the whole crew.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're excited to have you. And we just found out that Chris used to live right or nearby where I was just on vacation. So next time before I go on vacation, I'm going to reach out to you because I could have used some of those recommendations. And but I had a great time out in California where you used to live. So what a magical place in Southern
Wonderful
California.
place. It really is good to live there too.
Oh, all it takes is money.
All it takes is money.
Right next to where we were staying, the resort we're staying at, we were in Dana Point, is these beautiful homes overlooking the water. And we were there with one of, it was a Miraval resort, and they have all sorts of cool new agey classes and things, and perfect for Southern California. And we were taking this morning meditative walk, 4-mile meditative walk along the coast. And I was literally right next to our resort. And I'm not really a basketball person, but Kobe Bryant's widow is building a home there. And she has one of the more inexpensive homes there. And it's still like, it's just an insane area. And I was like, oh, if I ever get rich, that's where I'm going to move to.
It is. It's a weird place. I ran into Tom Cruise at Disneyland once, and that was an odd thing.
That's pretty awesome. Was he, did you were able to say hi or how did it, or was it
No,
don't talk to Tom?
It was like a don't talk to Tom, like security guard presence around him.
Sure. Sure. My aunt lives in the town of Orange itself. So, so I grew up going to visit her, and I've been to Anaheim plenty of times. I've been to Disneyland, but never met any celebrities. But it was funny because we'd be walking on the beach in Dana Point, and these homes overlooking, I mean, God only knows how expensive they were. And we'd see these people, walking along the beach, and I'm like, is this a billionaire? Is that a billionaire? Like some of these people have to own these homes, but they all are just, in their casual California clothes. But anyway, we're not here to talk about my trip, but I'm still in trip vacation mode. But today, what we do want to talk about is take a few minutes to ask you about Zillow's recent big news. And could you explain to our listeners and our viewers the announcement of what Zillow Homes is and give us an update?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I'm excited for a couple of reasons to talk today. One, obviously, I want to talk about social media, some of the insights we have there. But before we jump into that, I really do want to take a few moments and discuss kind of the recent announcement about Zillow Homes. So to start, just to give high-level overview, Zillow Homes is a licensed brokerage entity, and it is our latest service to simplify and streamline Zillow offers transactions to deliver really a more integrated experience to customers. So Zillow Offers customers can already use Zillow affiliated mortgage, title and escrow services through Zillow Home Loans, as well as Zillow closing services. So delivering an all Zillow Offers related transaction service through a single coordinated platform, that's what was really designed to help consumers save time, as well as kind of reduce friction and uncertainty in the home buying process. So ultimately, what that means is that starting in January, this coming January, customers in the Atlanta market, Phoenix market, as well as the Tucson market who sell their homes through Zillow Offers will work directly with a trusted licensed employee of the licensed brokerage entity, which is Zillow Homes. So Zillow owned homes in these markets will be listed for sale by licensed Zillow Homes employees. And this means for the first time, Zillow Offers sellers can complete the entire transaction from start to finish utilizing Zillow branded services. Rather than up until this point, it's been multiple third parties. So we expect to kind of expand services to additional Zillow Offers markets later in the year in 2021. But that's kind of the 30,000 foot view for you.
And this isn't the lead programs that you offer to agents has not changed. Those continue to be in service and indefinitely.
Exactly. This is just very specific for the Zillow Offers markets.
Got it.
Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, what has brought Zillow? You mentioned a little bit already, but just curious what brought Zillow to introduce those new services?
Yeah. Well, over the last few years, of operating the Zillow Offers business, we've learned that it's really, really important to customers that they're having a service that's simple, giving them control and transparency. It's all the things that consumers in the 21st century want, right? I mean, that's like the 21st century economy. It's the thing that we're all kind of evolving and growing into, right? And, as I've mentioned on this podcast prior, our customers have been, and they're always going to continue to be the North Star. And we're working to kind of evolve the business to meet their needs and their expectations. So we really believe doing this is going to benefit our partners in the industry as well. Regardless of how our customers want to buy or sell, whether it's through, Zillow Offers or through a trusted premier agent partner, we want our partners providing the seamless experience that's going to help buying a home and make it really a joyful, delightful experience. So really the idea is to streamline the process and create less friction and confusion for the consumer. So again, the people that will be acting, the agents acting, will be Zillow employees. And these are employees that we have had at Zillow that went through the licensing process. So it's not bringing people in from the outside.
Yeah, and if a buyer reaches your website and wants to talk to an agent, a non-Zillow, employee, that does not change. Right. So for everyone listening, this is not changing the traditional process of what the consumer is looking for. They can still reach out to agents. They can still, agents can still advertise on the Premier Agent platform. There's still those opportunities have not changed at all.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, really want to stress that nothing's changing on that front. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So with this announcement, this is an announcement. Are there any other changes that you see coming?
Well, like you said, I want to stress just again, the way we do business with agents today, it's really going to remain largely unchanged, right? So, connecting agents' expertise with exceptional customer service skills for home shoppers, that's going to remain a core part of our business going forward. So, agents are essential to that mission and providing a better real estate experience for all home shoppers. That's really the goal. Sure. But with this announcement, we are looking to simplify and improve the way that we collect listing data. And currently, we have a whole bunch of data feeds from all over the country, and we're moving from those like thousands of disparate feeds to MLS, IDX, Internet Data Exchange feeds, IDX Sure. feeds. And so for compliance reasons, gaining access to the IDX feeds is going to require us to make some minor adjustments to the site, including just very small changes to how agents' photos appear on listings and so forth. But overall, nothing's really changing. Our solutions, the goal is really to continue to help maintain agent advertising ROI and brand presence while connecting agents with active home shoppers. So, no changes are going to happen to the site now. Anything that will change will happen in the new year. And, I'm committed to keep you and your listeners up to date on any of those changes. But again, just looking at minor things. So ultimately, want to reassure agents that they can expect to see the same share of voice for their leads and connections. Nothing on that front is changing.
And for everyone listening, what this might ultimately mean, and I know with our agents, sometimes people want things so fast.
Right.
We even have agents say, "I just posted a new listing on the MLS here in Chicago. It's not on Zillow yet." I was like, "How long has it been?"
Right.
"Oh, it's been 10 minutes." Well, okay. Well, there is a feed delay in their ability. Certainly, Zillow wants it up a second after it goes live, and so
Exactly.
with the announcement of Zillow Homes, the Zillow Home service, this actually will help potentially bridge some of that time gap. It's not a guarantee, but that's part of the reason, from my understanding of one of the reasons, is this will actually help bring that data to your site much faster, which serves everybody better.
100%. We all know those frustrating times, right? Where somebody reaches on a property and maybe it was just taken down and it hasn't had a chance to update on the site.
Sure.
The idea here is that this is going to create a much more streamlined experience for the consumer and ultimately help everybody, including the agents.
That's really exciting. I think it's so cool. I just love how, Zillow, really being a technology firm at its core, is always utilizing technology to just better serve the client, which then I think tees up a better experience for the agent, right? Zillow, I've always thought it's so cool that Zillow's, free service to consumers really takes a lot of the legwork out of what agents used to have to do. And the agent can focus more on the human connection, the human side of it. Zillow can take some of the, just some of the data side away, and just makes it so much easier for the agent, in my opinion.
Yep, that's the goal, right? We want to take the difficult parts and make it, work through those so that the consumer and the agent, they're able to just make the connection, and agents are able to utilize their strengths moving forward without getting stuck with any of the difficulties that they needn't have.
Yeah, well, I think that really covers that particular topic. By the way, if any of our listeners want more information about that, or want us to dive deeper into that, please let us know. Send us, emails or postings on social media, and let us know if you want us to get more specific about that. But a lot has been written about this, and I find that a lot of the news articles that have been written, I think, have been very explanatory and really going into detail about what this means for agents. And I see it as a huge positive personally. But let's talk about social media. That was the other topic we wanted to cover today. So
great.
I'd love to hear your thoughts about leveraging sort of best practices around what agents can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes, hearing the word social media, it can do a couple things. For some, it's kind of second nature. It's like no different than breathing, right? For others, it can feel like an alternate universe, and it can be kind of, overwhelming and intimidating. And again, our goal is to make this easy for you and to really help you have the biggest and greatest impact that you can on your network. So, as I was thinking about the, social media and the topic of social media, I'll start with this. I'll make a big assumption about probably a lot of those who are listening today. And I'm going to assume that a lot of agents who are listening to this podcast, they got into the industry because they're very good with people, especially meeting people face to face. That seems to be a lot of agents' strengths.
Yes.
But as we all know, 2020 has brought about some big challenges for agents because, namely, you can't use your strengths of meeting people face to face in the way that you used to right now, right? In this COVID world, right? And most agents that I know, they didn't get into the industry because they're social media gurus or because, they're internet marketing experts. They didn't get their degree in online marketing, right?
Right.
And so, I think a lot of agents can feel intimidated kind of by the prospect of needing to be an expert in so many different ancillary fields. And a lot of agents that I talk to really consider themselves more of generalists, right? Kind of those who know a little about a lot, right? And again, are very good with people. But the good news for agents is that here in Zillow, we know a lot about consumer demands, right? And we know
Right.
a lot when it comes to the online marketplace, as well as social media marketing. So, I think you had mentioned we had over 190 million unique monthly users. That's now over 200 million.
Wow.
So, we see lots and lots of data trends, and we are able to kind of pour through the data, see what works as well as what doesn't work. And really, we want to make this as easy as possible for agents to find success in the changing world of real estate. So I want to take a look at how to leverage social media, as well as kind of discuss some tools that you can use to find success in this, social media meets COVID world.
Yeah, everything's changed a bit, right? So you were saying the meetings face to face,
Right.
more than a bit, of course. And even I was just out in California and took a flight out there, and that was even something that my girlfriend and I really
Right.
had to think about was, were we comfortable meeting face to face with other travelers,
Right.
and
Right.
having to sort of figure out what was reasonable for us. So I think social media is probably more important than ever until we get to a place where we're able to have more face-to-face meetings, which hopefully will be coming shortly, but certainly
Right.
not right this second. So what are some of the main ways that you feel we could best leverage social media?
Yeah, well, I mean, as you said, it really, social media right now for a lot of people is a bit of a lifeline, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's good components of that, and then there's also, as we all know, negative components, right? But what we have found when it comes to particularly the agent, creating and sharing content, that's going to be the most important part of social media success. And so there's a couple methods that we have, suggest maybe using. First thing is this: video is king.
Yeah.
Right? Think about your own browsing habits online, right? I mean, video is the first thing that most people are pretty drawn to, right?
Sure.
So I just want to be clear though, I'm not talking about the need for some highly produced video. It really can be basic, right? What we do know is that video drives the most online engagement. It just
Yes.
does.
And
It
by the
also
way, we have
humanizes you.
Facebook. Facebook comes on our show once a month. They always talk
Right.
about video. So this is not
Right.
an opinion.
Right.
This is absolute fact. Yeah.
Right. It is, right? But video has a way of humanizing you, right? It
Yes.
kind of makes the screen two-dimensional to three-dimensional a bit, right? We're able to get more aspects of that person who's on the other end of the screen. And I think a lot of people think that maybe it needs to be, some high-class produced video, and that's not necessarily the case, right? Sometimes there can be something really engaging about something that's not overly produced, and it really can benefit to make you come across more human. And I think a lot of agents are afraid of video because they feel, they need to stack up to their competition. And but I'll say this: the reality is the industry is being forced into this direction. And if you can start learning how to take basic videos now, it's going to get you ahead above your competition. And really, right now, with being in these COVID restrictions, now is as good a time as ever to jump in. So
Yeah. And I want to, what's great, and for everyone listening saying, well, I don't have the right lighting, or I don't have, a producer or a director or a professional
right.
crew. I think content is king when it comes to video. What
Yep.
Chris, you had just said, basically the same thing, is the value of what you're providing is way more important than the aesthetic of the product. So if you have a shiny, beautiful ring light that the influencers use to make yourself look better, that's fine. But the content is really what's most important. So even if you're, driving, or you shouldn't do this while you're driving, but even if you were doing a very non-professional video without those, accoutrements to make it look and sound perfect, if you're providing great value, people will respond to that as much, if not more, than something that's highly produced that might not have that level of value.
Right, right. I'm just thinking, a couple ways that I have seen this kind of effectively be used. I saw an agent who's very good on social media post a very simple, basic video where it showed them delivering a box of pizza and some champagne to some clients who just closed on a new house. And,
Yeah.
he's smiling, he's walking up to the door, rings, knocks on the doorbell, and, the couple opens the door and hands them the pizza, the champagne. Next thing, they're popping the champagne. And it was short. It was a short, basic clip, but it was powerful, right?
Yeah.
And it was one of those experiences, just watching it kind of put a smile on my face, put me in a good mood. And it
Sure.
really kind of made me want to work with that agent, right?
Yeah.
I've also seen agents do things like creating a very simple, just in front of their desk, 2-minute monthly marketing video, right? Like market update. Like, here's what's new in the market. Here's the trends. Here's what we see happening. And they, if you do it on a monthly basis, it can help to build that consistent rhythm of credibility to your network, right? And you can, put it on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can do all the different mediums, and you can even email it out as well, right? So that's something I've seen that's been really effective.
And I'm gonna interrupt for just a moment, because you just gave me an idea to share with the audience. So that's a non-real estate related idea, but very similar to what Chris just mentioned. So Chris was just talking about doing a monthly market update. A couple minutes, get some data points, read them, and turn your phone around and do that. Here's something that any one of us could do weekly. I know for me, and I live in Chris is in Seattle, a big metropolitan area. So of course is Chicago, where I am. But even if you're in a more rural area, this maybe even is in some ways maybe even better to do there, but certainly can be done anywhere. Which is, I know every weekend, especially now in the pandemic days, I'm not sure what events are even available. I'm not sure what's going on in my local community socially. I know the weekends are always like, okay, what can we do on the weekend? Where am I able to go? And I think agents, all you have to do is, do some research and think about what value that provides. Is do maybe every Thursday you do here's what's coming up this weekend in your local community. We know real estate is hyper local. This is a great way to provide value right now. Here's things you can do outside of your house this weekend in your local area, and just have 3 or 4 ideas. I would love if somebody were to do that for my own little neighborhood. I'm sure somebody does, but I haven't found that yet. So you could do that just as a little idea. So didn't mean to interrupt your flow, but
that is a great idea. I mean, I'm thinking I would love to see something like that myself.
Sure.
I saw an agent post an Instagram story, like a video story, where they did a walkthrough of their latest listing. And then they did it was like a 2 to 3 minute little clip where they showed how they decorated the front porch with autumn themed decorations, really basic things like pumpkins, corn stalks. And they showed how to make a nice front porch decorated for this season. And they did so on a listing, right? And it highlighted the agent's expertise, their eye for detail, and it stuck with me, right?
I love it.
And another thing you could do is, if your client's up for it, film them talking about their experience working with you, right? Think of it like a video review of sorts, right? Again, just getting this content. So getting your kind of creative juices flowing, thinking, what can I do to put myself out there to keep myself top of mind in my network? That's what's going to be vital.
And for everyone listening or watching, it does not have to look or sound perfect. If there are mistakes,
no,
it's okay. Not only is it okay, it might even be preferred, because we are all imperfect people. We actually relate better to imperfection than perfection. So even if you stumble over a word or you do something silly and you have to start over, I would keep that in. It's endearing. It's funny. Everyone goes through it, and it makes you appear way more human than a perfectly polished. I mean, we don't hardly edit our episodes too. And I am by no means in any way perfect in my delivery or my visual, sort of aesthetic of this podcast. So people don't really want that. They just want quality content.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. And there are lots of ways to do it. I would say dip your toe in the water with video if you haven't done it. Try out all the different mediums, right? So try out Facebook, Instagram stories, try the live videos for Facebook and Instagram. That can seem to get a lot of traction because people get notified when somebody in their network goes live with a video, right? So that can get a lot of traction. And then also just, work with the typical static post, right? And that can be any number of things as well.
Yeah, those are great. So outside of video, you have any other ideas for social media, sort of best practices?
Yeah. So, video is king, right? That's very important. Content. But another thing is sharing articles and giving maybe your commentary on, any given article. Again, it's putting yourself out there as much as you can. We've created a resource at Zillow that's tailored for agents to share world-class content. So we make it honestly as easy as possible for you. It's called Zillow Porchlight. And for those listening, it's very simple. Just visit Zillow.com/blog. Zillow.com/blog. And that is called Zillow Porchlight. And we post articles on there all the time, right? And there's a whole range of topics that we discover. Sometimes, I think recently, our most recent post is how to carve the best pumpkin on the block, right? I mean, it's kind of silly, kind of playful, and then we also have, an article on there called Selling, Increase your home's screen appeal, right? Instead of curb appeal, kind of screen appeal.
I love it.
So again, it varies all different kinds of content, but you kind of get the idea. Easy, shareable content to keep you top of mind in your network. And we have it's shareable on every platform that you're on, right? Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, all the sites. So
yeah, and one of the things we do on our Facebook page is we find articles. Specifically, we actually post articles from the Zillow.com/blog, the Porchlight, because we're looking for that content to send to our listeners who are agents, whether it's real estate specific or real estate adjacent, or even just fun, cool content. So we share that. It's literally the only other thing we do in social media with our respect to our podcast is we post videos like this. We post our episodes once they're completed, and we post articles that we find online. So this is a great resource. Go to Zillow.com/blog and subscribe if you have an RSS reader. I don't think most people use those anymore, but I do. So if you're like a Feedly user, or if you just use Apple News, you can subscribe to that and have those pull in, and then you can share them with your audience. And that way you don't have to write the content. It's even better. You can just share really good content. Yeah.
Exactly. Again, trying to make it as streamlined and easy as possible. And not only do we have a lot of great content, but there's a lot of great content just on the web from other trusted sources, right? So I recommend creating a file in your computer of shareable content, so that when you come across something that you think is, oh man, this would be good to share, just drop it in, save it in a folder, and before you know it, you're going to have a library of shareable content. So,
and this really helps solve the problem of what do I post, and you should post as much of your own content as you can, maybe through video. You can do some static posts, but geez, you don't have to write everything. Let the experts help. You're driving traffic to their site, so they're thrilled about that too. But this way you're keeping good content in front of your audience, and you're not having to do as much content creation, which is, let's be honest, that is taxing stuff. It's hard enough to make a video. It is much harder to sit. And I'm a writer. I mean, I write articles for magazines. Like, I know how much, but boy, agents really don't have that much time. So, leverage some of these other services like Zillow's blog to do that for your clients.
Right. And I'd also say is, something to not forget is, when you have a client who posts, those coveted Zillow reviews on your Zillow profile, you fought hard to get the review, you fought hard for the client. Make sure that you're sharing those reviews with your network, we have a shareable option on your profile, so you can post that directly to your social media. Or think of it this way. You list a home, you close a home, post about that too. Don't just share though that, closed another property.
Right.
Instead, focus on the experience with the clients. Tag them in the post. This not only helps make the client feel special, when the experience is highlighted, but it lets their social media sphere know about it too, right? So this can help grow and expand your brand. It builds your likability and really the joy of, finding a new home. You get to focus on the story of the client, and that keeps the posts unique, because we've all seen the agent, who posts closed another home, closed another home, closed another home. Create the story, find the story, and really share that. And I've seen several agents do that very well. And I've also seen them, share when they close a property, if they give them a closing gift, they post about the gift that they're giving that client, not in a braggadocious kind of way, but in a way of saying like, look, I value my clients. I like to work with them, and I like to see that they're treated well, right? So highlighting that is another thing you can post about.
And for everyone I'm just going to make sure everybody knows about this. If you are a Loop user, so that if you're not familiar, that's an electronic signature platform. There is a really cool feature inside of Loop that many people do not know about, and it might have to be activated by your brokerage. I don't know if an agent can activate it themselves, but reach out to Loop if you don't know about this. If you're using Loop to send paperwork back and forth and get signatures, there is a little link right above the paperwork that says write a Zillow review. So actually it's built in. If you're using Loop,
Yep.
They have this cool feature, and make sure everybody knows that that the best way they could serve you is by writing a Zillow review. And then once that review happens, as Chris mentions, share it. Now, if you're thinking, well, I don't want to brag about my 5-star perfect review, here's a suggestion on how to do that. Just a suggestion for me. It's certainly not the only way to go, because I might feel that same way. Like, I don't know. I'm not comfortable. What I would say if it was me is I would post the link inside of social media, like Chris was suggesting, which you can find right on Zillow's review site. You can get the link just to that specific review, and then say, wow, I am so grateful that tag the person so-and-so was kind enough to share their experience working with me. It was an honor working with them. And that way you're not saying, hey, look at how great I am. You're saying, look at how thankful I am that someone was kind enough, because you should be that thankful, by the way. And that takes, I think, the perception of maybe you're worried somebody think you're sort of just bragging about how great you are, into saying, how lucky am I that somebody took the time to do that?
Right. Or use it as an opportunity to highlight your expertise, say, wow, I'm really grateful for this review. I'm really grateful that we were able to get this deal done in such a hot market, and we were able to, provide an offer they couldn't refuse, or, something to that effect. There's ways to highlight your expertise while also sharing other people's experience of working with you.
Yeah, I love it. What about, I've always wanted to, because there's so many different opinions about this, and I think we should just ask about it. So what about mixing, because this is the other question is, okay, I've got my personal non-business side on social media. And then I've got my real estate business. Do I keep that separate? Do I merge it? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. So, some agents will have separate for just business, right? And then something for personal. Here's what I would say. Whatever you choose, you want to keep it professional. But I think that there are some really effective ways to utilize social media to show your network the personal side of you too, right?
Sure.
Some things that we've seen agents do to leverage this, is post, about a food drive that you're a part of, or that your brokerage is hosting, right?
Yeah.
Think of like, a charity fundraiser that you're participating in, or a community building or cleanup project. Think beautiful pictures of your neighborhood or your city, right? Those things can show how connected you are to your neighborhood, to your city, to the region, and really highlight your involvement, right? So even if it's not real estate related, it can be powerful in building, an online social media presence. So think about it in terms of that, right? Like, what do I want to do to really to show my engagement and involvement in the community that I live in?
What about virtual events? I know there's some agents who utilize Facebook Live or Zoom. There's a lot of platforms to do that. What are your thoughts on that?
We've seen some really creative things, especially during COVID. For example, we've seen agents give real estate 101 classes and
Yeah.
market updates on Zoom, all right, live on Zoom, where they will advertise it for days in advance. Hey, sign up, come be a part of this Zoom class that I'm doing. We've seen, this is great. We've seen some agents partner with local contractors to create really simple how-to videos, like how to replace the faucet in your bathroom, right?
Yeah.
So it's more basic things that they can teach others how to do, and they've done it either recorded or live on Zoom. And some agents we've seen have even been hosting like cooking classes, right?
Hmm.
It has nothing necessarily to do with real estate other than really building the connection with your network and showing that you're a presence in their network, you're involved, you're there to help them, right? So think of it this way. Once you set a date for whatever event you are going to host, you can start promoting it on social media and posting updates as the events get closer. Again, this is the thing that keeps you top of mind, and it's the thing that helps you with content creation. So again, there's some very creative solutions and events that we've seen agents do. So I think really the sky is the limit. There's a lot of opportunities.
And as far as posting frequency, because that's a big question we'll get, is how
Right.
often should I post? Do you have any thoughts about frequency?
Well, everyone's different, right? There's not really a one size fits all approach. There's going to be some agents, I'm sure we've all seen, that maybe post, 3-4 times a day, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's those agents who post, 3 times a month, and there's some that post 3 times a year, and those who never post.
Right.
What we have found is that it's usually best to not post more than once a day. And you really probably want to post something at least maybe every other day or every second day, right? To keep engaged, keep top of mind with the people that you're connected to. And really in that, you want to build a balance kind of between, think, business posts as well as personal. And especially if you're doing it on the same account, right? This is going to be helpful for you to really kind of build the network by sharing things that you enjoy and care about. And it's also going to help you establish and build that brand and that, that online presence. So again, not a one size fits all approach, but I'd say probably no more than once a day, probably no less than every second or third day.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's really doable even for the busiest of agents,
Right.
and there's so much content. I always recommend as a place to get started. We talked about some content options, whether it's video or static posts earlier. And this is just a great way to start to think about, what do my clients, or rather, what does my sphere of influence really need right now? Or what do they
Right.
want right now? And it doesn't always have to be real estate related. Chris was mentioning he's seen
Right.
cooking classes and how to, decorate, your front porch for Halloween. It doesn't necessarily have to do with anything about real estate. I mentioned coming up with ideas every week to what you can do over the weekend. The bottom line is, think about what your sphere of influence actually would like to see. And you might not know the exact perfect answer for that. So you can try a few things. And then what I recommend is, if you are thinking of a series. So for example, if you were to take my suggestion of, I'm going to do a weekend event series and I'm going to do it every Thursday, realize that if you can commit to that over the next year, which really seems like a big task, but you just take it week by week. You probably do 5 minutes of research online to find out what events are going on. You write them down on a notepad you have in front
Right.
of you on your
Super
computer.
simple.
Super simple. And you do a 90-second to 2-minute video. That is something that you can do every single week for a year. And if you commit to that, That's the trick, is you gotta, this podcast didn't exist because I put out one episode and all of a sudden we had thousands of listeners. We had like no listeners for gosh, I'm embarrassed to say how long we had no listeners for, but the reality of it was, over time, we wanted to get people hooked on these conversations, because I just kept thinking, I know if I were a producing agent, I would want to know what top agents are doing. And I thought, no one has done that. And here's an opportunity for you. Don't have to have my idea. You certainly can try my idea too. But just think about what your sphere of influence would like. And even if it's as simple as restaurant recommendations, or,
Right.
ideas to help
Yeah.
stay in touch during COVID, there's a million ways to do it. But commit to a series, commit to doing it for a year, and
Yep.
try to make it so achievable that you're not killing yourself every week or every month trying to create the content. It doesn't have to
Yep.
take that long.
Yep. Totally agree. I think having a calendar, right, where you simply just,
Yeah.
mark every Wednesday and, every Friday or whatever days you pick, right? These are the days that I'm going to post something, right? And again, you have a whole, a toolbox filled with all the different things and all the different kinds of content that you can do to put yourself out there. But if you just put a couple days in the calendar, these are the days I'm going to post, it'll help keep you to doing it.
And it's going to take time to build up that engagement. So if you're not getting the
Yep.
likes and the comments, don't worry. If you go to our Facebook page, to sort of peel back the curtain here, you would think we have no listeners, because really, on social media, we do not have a strong foothold. We just don't. And
Right.
that's not something we're great at. However, thousands and thousands and thousands of people listen to every single one of our episodes. So we're so grateful. But we've been posting on social media for years, and it would appear
Yeah.
that it doesn't really have much of an impact because we don't get a lot of comments. But we're also not posting content that would generate content or comments. We're just
Right.
posting content that we think is really valuable. And we get feedback
Right.
behind the scenes every single day almost, from people saying, oh my God, I love what you guys post, not just your episodes,
Yep.
but some of the social media stuff. But don't worry about the actual engagement, because whether or not if you're getting negative feedback, of course, take that into consideration. But really, it's just put it out there and be consistent and just trust that it's working. And then, of course, take the temperature every so often and make sure that it's actually useful.
Right.
But
Right.
but don't worry about how many likes or how many views. It's going to take a while, and you're still probably doing some good out there, despite how
Yep.
low the engagement might appear.
Yep. Absolutely. 100%. Speaking of articles, I like the things that you post. I might not
Oh,
comment, but I see them.
yeah, well, thank you. We appreciate that, and
Yeah.
that's really common. But if I were to look, I would be depressed, because I would go, no one's liking it,
Right.
no one's, and it's like I have to. If I actually look at how many people have seen it, then our numbers are great. But if I look at how many likes and
Right.
comments, oh my God! Well, I had a blog years ago, a very somewhat popular humor blog, and I was getting dozens and dozens of comments on every post I made. This is sort of the mid 2000s, and into the last well, anyway. But anyway, then I started noticing comments drifting off, and
Right.
so people aren't commenting as much as they used to. So don't worry too much about that. Just create good content and make sure that the people know about it. Let people know that you're doing this, and there's a brokerage in Arizona who puts out a podcast for their agents. For their agents, they have 1,000 agents. They're in Phoenix, and they're in a bunch of other states too. They put out a podcast episode every single day for their agents. And if you look at the numbers, because they shared that with me, the numbers are pretty low as far as how many people actually listen to this information. But it is so popular among their actual agent community, and it has now made them the biggest firm in all of Phoenix, or all of Arizona rather. And it is not only because
Wow.
they do this, but they're the only firm I've ever heard of who does that. And I'm like, that is
Wow.
awesome. And they're like 10-minute little bite-sized chunks. Now that's a ton of
Right.
work to do every day, but boy, separates them from everyone else. So as somebody who recruits agents, I like, oh my God, that's a brilliant idea. Now you're not
Right.
our listeners are not somebody who needs to recruit agents, but you need to recruit buyers and sellers. So you don't have to create content every single day, but think about something that would be helpful and valuable. Don't worry about the end result. Just worry about the value of it. And it just takes time, and just keep at it.
Yep. Totally
No,
agree.
so we've gone through a lot. This Chris was so funny before we were starting. Chris, like, we really don't have that much to go through today, and now it's been a full hour. So I got to let Chris get back to his busy job. I'm not the only thing that he does every day as well. But you've given us so much great content. Any closing thoughts that you might have?
Well, look, thanks for having me on the show. It's always fun. To close out, I'd say this: having an online presence is absolutely vital, especially in times like we're living right now, right? It really is your virtual front door. There's just no other way to say it. So having a robust social media presence can be very helpful to build your brand as well as grow your network. And, to be honest, when you combine that with online advertising on, say Zillow, you're really setting yourself up for success. So if you've never tried advertising on Zillow, you haven't done it in a while, I highly recommend reaching out to see what's available in your area. So feel free to email keepingitreal@zillowgroup.com. Many of you already have. And we've connected you with the team that can look and see what advertising opportunities are available for you in your area. So again, keepingitreal@zillowgroup.com. Reach out and we will see what is available in your area. So
And
with
guys,
that, thanks, DJ.
it is. Yeah, it's really, really cool too, because here's what Zillow can do for you, which you might think. So you might be thinking, I'd like to advertise on Zillow, but all of the zip codes are already locked up. I can't get these zip codes. And that may or may not be the case. Zillow can look in and see what's available, but they can also find opportunities in other areas that you might not have thought about, where the actual ROI is significantly better than that ideal perfect zip code that you're thinking you wish you had because it has the most exclusive listings or whatever. It is incredible, the data they have. I really encourage everyone. I'm not, of course, paid to say this at all, but I really think it is so cool. I was so impressed when I've reached out to Zillow on behalf of our own agents, and Chris and his team has said, okay, here are some zip codes that you guys probably aren't thinking about that actually are really a really good deal, as far as just a deal. And being able to press, for me as somebody who works for our agents, we have 700 agents at our firm. This is great value for me to be able to bring to our agents and say, hey, just so you guys know, here are some great zip codes that are underutilized right now, that Zillow knows about and sent over. So they can do all sorts of cool data dives for you. So definitely reach out. Again, that email address is keepingitreal@zillowgroup.com, and their team will connect with you and see if there's any synergies there. So appreciate you reminding our audience to do that. But Chris, thank you once again. This has been a great episode, full of, I think, chock full of great actionable strategies with social media, also explaining the most recent Zillow news about Zillow Home. This is a big thing. We're super excited to continue having these conversations. And we want to, on behalf of our listeners, we want to thank Chris and the entire Zillow team for being a part of our show. We really couldn't be more excited and proud to have you guys with us. And we'll continue to crank out these episodes. On behalf of Chris and myself, we want to thank everyone else who is listening and watching, and just remind everyone to do two things if you want to help our show. Well, three things. One, reach out to Zillow, see what opportunities are available for you. Keepingitreal@zillowgroup.com. Send them an email. The other two things, tell a friend. Think of one other real estate professional that could benefit from having watched or heard this interview with Chris from Zillow, and send them a link to our show. The easiest way to do that, find us on our website, keepingitrealpod.com. If you don't want to do that, tell your phone to tell your friend to grab their phone, pull up a podcast app and just search for Keeping It Real. Look for the one that says DJ Paris. That's me. There's a few others also called Keeping It Real, but you should find us pretty easily. And have them subscribe to that. And then also follow us on Facebook. Speaking of social media, that's facebook.com/Keeping It Real Pod. As I mentioned earlier, all we do is post articles that we find from places like Zillow to help you grow your business, and also episodes. And we also have started posting a funny real estate or a funny quote every single day, because we thought, we're sort of, we're not that serious. So we want to do something fun. But that's all we do there. There's no fat. It's all meat. So follow us on Facebook. Chris, thank you so much. And we'll see you next month.
Thanks so much, DJ. Pleasure.